Over the weekend, I had the rare opportunity to meet up with a spiritual healer and got invited into a cleansing session and got up close and personal with a patient who was possessed. The room was rather small, and I was warned that during such sessions, sometimes the patient can get rather violent, and it didn't help that I was sitting in a corner, and the only way out of the room was through a door on the other side, where if anything went wrong, I had to find a way to cross over the body of a possessed patient and find a way out. The man in the room with me, who I'm about to witness a cleansing session, was in his 40s, I believe, but he looked very much like a man in his 60s. He was unkempt, his face was gaunt, and he was pretty much just skin and bones. To people who do not believe in the supernatural, when you see a man like that on the road, he fits the profile of a madman or a drug addict. But for people in the business who are very used to look at telltale signs from the eyes, you can clearly see that this man is troubled and disturbed. According to the spiritual healer, this man has dabbled in witchcraft, drank the blood of corpses, practiced black magic, even performed in kuda kepang rituals, and invited jinn into his body to grant him powers. Due to the sensitive nature of this topic, and out of respect for the patient, I will not be showing you any video. However, I will be playing a short audio clip to give you an idea of how it sounded like when I was in the room. Listen.
Kamu nak ganggu dia lagi tidak? Hah? Kamu nak ganggu dia lagi tidak? Keluar sekarang. Jangan kacau dia lagi, faham? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Falamma alqaw qala Musa ma ji'tum bihi as-sihr. إن الله سيبطله إن الله سيبطله إن الله سيبطله إن الله لا يصلح عمل المفسدين ويحق الله الحق بكلماته ولو كره المجرمون.
Before the ritual started, I spoke to the patient, and it turns out that he could explain and articulate how he's feeling and what he's been experiencing. He doesn't have any appetite, he hallucinates, and he could hear voices. Now, this was the man, if you look at him, if you were walking along the street with a child or sitting in the MRT and he sits beside you, you would pretty much just detour away from him. However, when you speak to him, you realize that his mind is working except his body has been wrecked. According to the spiritual healer, he has multiple demons and spirits inside him fighting for a piece of him. And a person like this, death will not come swiftly, and he's going to suffer for many, many years before dying. When the ritual started, the man doubled over, clutched onto his stomach, and he was in pain. His fingers turned to claws, and his arm was bent at odd angles, trying to fight the spell or the chanting coming from the spiritual healer. What was really interesting was that his face was already hideous to begin with because it was so sunken, but when his tongue was sticking out, his eyes was rolled backwards, and even though his tongue was sticking out, you could hear voices coming out from him. And not just one voice, but multiple voices. Now, that was a spooky part of the entire session, where you look at him and in your mind, you just know that that cannot happen, but yet you are witnessing this with your eyes. As the spell went on, the fighting began to be more fervent. At one point in time, he was so close to me that I was backed up against the wall and I didn't know what to do. The spiritual healer, after a while, the prayer started getting more intense, pinned him down and put a hand on his stomach and one on the back of his neck. And that's when the man started screaming in pain as if hot metal spikes was pierced into his body. More chanting went on, more prayers went on. He doubled over, started coughing, wheezing, and puking. Eventually, his body came to rest. At that point, I was told that a spirit was purged from his body. And that got me thinking. There were only 3 of us in the room. The man, the spiritual healer, and me. Now, where's the spirit going to go?